and then everything should be worse. There have been these like really incredible moments, like I think I was talking to you a few weeks ago about that black dot. Well, I did that, and 3 days later there was the oil spill in the U.S. And there was just something so strange about when you do something that's very abstract and very powerful that you begin to see it everywhere. That these symbols, yeah.
Did you do all the writing yourself, or because I know that Keanu wrote the words, but did you write?
The handwriting's my handwriting. Yeah. It was very funny because when we were in Germany, I had to rewrite some of the titles, and I found that I couldn't do it when everyone was standing. Do you remember standing around? And I kept messing it up.
On the spot.
On the spot.
You brought the pen from.
I had to bring the special pen from LA.
Right. But there was something wrong, right? Wasn't there something that you had?
Is there any other questions? Might as well open it up to questions. You first, and then we'll go to you.
Hello, Keanu. Hello, Alexandra.
Hello.
Why did there's some complex themes in the book, but you put it as a picture book? With hindsight, would you have done a normal book, or would this format suits you best? And another thing is this the first of many collaborations between you two?
Yeah, I hope we get to do another work.
We have some crazy plans. I hope so. Well, it's funny because when we were in Germany, a little article got published in the local paper that said Keanu Reeves is in Göttingen to write his autobiography.
So it will never happen. Never, ever.
While we were working on this book, so your question about what kind of book is it? I mean, I think that, again, this was, I don't like that the word accident sounds, it wasn't an accident, but it was this wonderful series of gestures that made something really, the impetus to make the book was very pure, that there wasn't a goal and an end other than to sort of be joyful and laugh, and so I don't know, we set out to, in a way we did set out to have the DNA of the original. But maybe you'll do an autobiography.
In Göttingen?
No discotheques.
No discotheque.
Lots of lentils. Yes.
First of all, thank you for the lovely book. Really, the humor makes all the fun. I have two questions for Ken and one for you, Alexandra.
Okay.
Have you ever thought making a, audio copy of the, the book? I'm sure it will be great for many, hearing the words from your voice and maybe other poems. And secondly, well, I'm not a native speaker, so I hope it doesn't sound too silly, but what do you mean when you say, let this word picture, by the word picture, do you mean actually the whole poem, or? And for Alexandra, in the last page, is it a eye? Could it be an eye, actually?
It could be an eye.
Well, because I'm Turkish and I don't know if you're familiar with the, the
eye.
evil eye beam, it protects from the, the negatives. Maybe it's giving a positive message. Here is the, the evil eye beam and protects you. Yes, that's what I thought, the blue
I
eye.
love that. We've thought about it being a pupil before.
Yes,
Absolutely.
I think in a lot of Mediterranean cultures, but we, adore it.
It's great. I mean, what's wonderful, it's just created an object that people can project upon or see things in. I mean, as an artist, it happens to me all the time that people interpret work.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about the word picture?
Yeah, I was trying to kind of the poem, or what it's kind of the journey that it starts off on is something that I was hoping created a word into a picture in terms of a visualization. It put you in a place that you chose. It kind of.
This is deeper than I thought.
Yeah, and I couldn't think of, because when I was writing, I didn't want to say, let this poem remind you, because it wasn't a poem. Yeah. It was a kind of
journey.
Yeah, like a word picture, like whatever that relationship is to memory or projection. I was kind of transferring this moment in the kitchen, this moment, this feeling of character, to this kind of very nostalgic, melancholic music state humor that if I described all of the objects and what it was and the feeling of it, that it would take you. You know, let this word picture remind you. So that's where it kind of.
But there's two things that I really like about that. One is that you have, like, the way you write, even in email sometimes, just like suggests images.
Right.
Like, you really have a particular way of putting words together that do suggest pictures, and I've often, like, sent you pictures back to your emails.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
oh, I really like that sentence, and here are drawings, and you're like.
I didn't ask for it.
But for me, there's also, like, the humor for me, because the work I do in galleries, like, my paintings are full of words, so that image for me was very funny because it was an empty frame.
Yeah.
So I found that, I mean, for me it was not funny for anyone else, but it was funny.
What about the audiobook? Could we get
yeah,
it?
we're gonna make an app, and,
No.
and it's gonna be called Ode to Happiness. And so whenever you're like the shit's going down,
There'll be little, like, messages from Keanu.
yeah,
It would be cool.
Should it be Ode to Happiness?
Ode to Happiness.
10%.
Done. That's funny.
That is funny.
People will actually buy that though.
Right?
People download that app.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want a message from Keanu. That would be good.
Yes, that's what I thought. Thank you.
Can we make personal ones?
Uh,
Shane, you look lovely today.
Sorry, I just wanted to, first of all, congratulations on the collaboration. It's
Thank
fabulous.
you.
I love it. If I may just also just mention Henry's Crime and your other writing endeavour. I'm a putative screenwriter myself, and I've been writing for years. And it just made me wonder the fact that you sat down, there you are in your kitchen, and you come up with a poem, and you've been writing Henry's Crime, or you helped with the
yeah,
script, is that correct?
collaboration, yes.
Collaboration, that's right. So if it's not too personal, because we all know you don't like to talk about personal things, but if this isn't too much. Are you a closet writer? Have you been scribbling, in the background all these years, and we just don't know about it? Is there play or screenplay?
Yeah, I love. I guess in retrospect, yeah, I think so. Yeah. Yeah,
So
because,
somewhere there's a little pile of.
well, I don't know, I love words, I love language. And so, yes, when I was a kid, I was writing poems and stuff, I'd leave them around. And I do find that when I write, I care about what it says and what it looks like and all of those things, right? But, yeah.
I mean, that's what's exciting about working with you, because you are a master collaborator. I mean, you know how to work with people, what you do in films. But yeah, he cares very much about reading, and I'm giving too much away, and written things. So there's that. I mean, that was what was so fun, is that we cared intimately about what this meant as a book, what it meant as an artwork, and how to have it be both things at the same time. And it's really interesting, I love thinking about the relationship between language and image in what you do in terms of the screenwriting, and even in terms of the acting, like the performative aspect of text that we were able to, that I was able to perform in a way this text, but it's related to the idea of inhabiting the text,
Right.
getting in that frame of mind.
And what is your feeling from it? How do you react to it? How do you,
Alexandra, your work is famous for being very full and lots, whereas the Ode to Happiness is very simplistic. Is that something that you're going to revisit, the more simplistic style?
It's, I think it's great to change, and I've been wanting to, I have issues with negative space in my work. It's true. I'd like to fill things up. And this was in a way, it was a privilege to sort of say, how can I do something that's very spare and elegant? And I do think it's going to affect how I think about work in the future. But it was fun. It was really fun to take the risk to try new things. So.
It looks fantastic.
Thank you.
I just got a question about the intention behind it. Might also feature, you said that there was a revision to it, so the first version, second version. but how much transition and contradiction featured as intentions with it? Because I mean, you go from discussing emotions, then I statements, then almost holding something for the future. Remember that almost like a counterpoint to hoping about it, but also remember what's actually going on. But and then you've got blue in there, which would be like feeling blue, like an emotion, but you've then got that against grey, so it's almost positive. I was really just wondering how much of that was a conscious intention and something that both of you brought in on the different parts you did to it, and how much of it just happened as part of the process.
I think that's how it's built.
Yeah.
You know, that almost mechanical, oppositional, contradictory simultaneity of it is, I think, born in the moment of being laughing with a friendship at recognizing how fucking awful it can be sometimes to live.
Yeah.
So that point counterpoint, I mean, on the blue page, for example, I didn't choose a lachrymose, sad blue. I chose like a Eve Klein blue to sort of create that counterpoint. So yeah.
And in terms of it, its hope is to be transformative in that sense, of look how how we can feel so bad, but also to make it laugh at the same time. But yeah, it's completely, that's the mechanical of it. It's completely juxtaposition with oppositional and contradictory and complementary.
To have that subtext of
it's always there.
Then also the emotional experience that goes along with it. So even if you have got all of those things, which are typically associated with positive feeling, then to have that. I guess it's really as to where you get to at the very end. That's what I'm interested in. How do you then see that as? How does that balance so that you're then finding it in a positive way? Because you're saying, remember that it doesn't
get better. It's gonna be okay. Yeah. That's its trick.
Okay. All right.
No, I mean that in the interesting word, right? That's its trick, but that's its truth. That's what it wants to do.
Well, it is how that.
How does that work?
Yeah. How do you, if you have all the I statements and quotes, like how do you then do the U-turn, right, to get back to sort of contextualize all the feeling?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's what I like about it is that because there's text and images, but there's this nuance where things are always going at the same time, right? So that there's always a little bit of humor and a lot of, but they're never staggered or anything. It's sort of at the same time, and how to recognize that.
Yeah.
So.
Both rebels in your sense of humour. I wonder if you can each tell us your favourite joke or
anecdote. Well, one of the things I'm going to answer, I'm going to buy you some time. Let me think of it. One of the things that we sort of realize is that we both have a British parent, and we both grew up with British humor, and so there's, I think, in contrast to North American humor, which is very sort of slapstick and straightforward, that this actually felt to me to have a lot to do with a sort of Anglo sense of humor. So I don't know, we've talked about everything from Monty Python.
Sure.
But that darkness in humor, I don't think is a typical, it's not, it's less American than I would say British. So I know I was brought up with a lot of, I have to call out some family members here. what representing in the corner. Did you think of your favorite anecdote?
Well, there's, that's apropos. I mean, what
No,
would be?
let's skip to the next page.
Why?
But you can see there's a shared sense of humor, that we have. So, in the back.
Yeah, it's a quick question to both of you. How have your fans reacted to this collaboration? Do you feel they're really surprised or really shocked or?
We are happy.
Delighted.